Have you ever wondered how a team comes together? For most teams, they don't just happen. Today we're going to learn about the 5-stage model of team building and the role of time in how teams are formed. The 5-stage model is the classic model of team building, and as the name suggests, includes 5 stages: forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. In the forming stage, team members may experience a great deal of stress and anxiety due to uncertainty about the other team members and their roles. First interactions can be cautious and tentative as team members feel each other out. In this stage, a charter can be helpful to establish ground rules and clarify the mission. A charter is simply a formal agreement that explicitly states the team's overall purpose and lays out the expectations and behaviors for each team member. It can be helpful in establishing rules for things like required attendance at meetings. Charters can reduce misunderstandings and serve as a regulatory device, because any team member that violates the agreed-upon norms can be reminded of the group's commitments. As the team interacts and begins work, the second stage, storming, begins. In this stage, conflicts often emerge about the goals and contributions of team members. There may also be challenges to the leader of the group. In this stage, leaders should openly address conflict and emphasize the team's purpose and ground rules as established in the charter. At the end of this stage, the question of who will lead the team is resolved, and a team hierarchy or pecking order may have been established. However, severe enough disagreements during the storming phase can sometimes result in abandonment by individual team members or dissolution of the team altogether. Assuming the team does not dissolve during storming, the team building process then moves into the third stage called norming. In this stage, the team members form close relationships and a cohesive unit develops. Norms or unwritten rules for what is acceptable also take shape during this stage. For example, a team member that is regularly absent from meetings without any consequences may result in other members believing that such behavior is acceptable as well. Leaders should address any such problems directly and constructively, reminding members of the ground rules that they agreed to. Once team norms are established, the team should enter the fourth stage, performing. This phase is simply when the team begins focusing less on building relationships and more on actually achieving their team goals. For permanent teams that do not adjourn, such as work groups, this is the last phase in team building. Team members should make a point to celebrate successes and achievements along the way to achieving the team's overall goals. For teams that are temporary or have just one or two specific goals to accomplish, the fifth and final stage, adjourning, occurs. In the adjourning phase, the team finalizes their work and disbands. In this phase, it is recommended that team leaders arrange a celebration to reward members for having achieved their overall purpose. While the 5-stage team-building model suggests that teams flow smoothly through the phases, this is not always the case. Conflict and unresolved violations of norms can often run the risk of having the team adjourn at any stage in the process. Also, teams that have a clear deadline, such as student project groups, do not follow the typical stages of development. Instead, they experience a process that is called punctuated equilibrium. This simply means that the team is initially active while goals are being discussed, and then very little work takes place until about halfway through the time period, when a flurry of activity occurs and team members scramble to reach their goals on time. This can be avoided if a team leader sets early benchmarks to avoid having to rush at the end of the project. To recap, the 5-stage team building model includes forming, storming, norming, performing, and sometimes adjourning. Successfully navigating these stages can result in high-performance teams that are united in meeting their goals.
Created using Powtoon.